We live in a culture obsessed with speed. How fast can my Wi-Fi get? How fast can you give me my food, right? We want speed. And in business, we also want to see bigger launches, more revenue, more followers, quicker turnaround. And there's nothing wrong with that. But really, in pursuit of that, we have to stop and ask ourselves a question. What if the fastest way to growth isn't to speed up and do more, but it's actually to slow down and take inventory of where you really are right now? That's the question we're asking on today's episode of Beyond the Camera. Okay, so one of my best friends in the entire world.
And he's like my brother.
He's like your brother, and he's like my brother. That's what best friends are. They're like the sibling you never had.
Yep, the brother I never had.
One of my best friends in the entire world, Ryan Leonard. He is just so good with something. There's something that he does that I've always admired him for. And I think that's one of the things about this. Isn't an episode on best friends, but if you're looking for a best friend, this is something you want to look for, is somebody who makes you better just because they're around you. And one of the things that Ryan does that makes me better, it's always rubbed off on me, it made a great impression on me, is he slows down in like the highest of high moments. He's got this ability to like kind of zone out for a second from all the excitement of what's happening in this pinnacle moment and just have such great perspective on what's actually taking place. So like for me, my natural instinct in like this, you know, high pinnacle moment, this, whether it's an achievement in business, whether it's like being at Disney World with the fam, whatever, is like, I'm always in the moment. I'm so present, which is something we strive to be, right? Is in the moment, not distracted. But I'm always just like, wow, this is amazing. Oh my gosh, I never want this to end. But like Ryan has this ability in those moments to pause long enough, just for a few seconds, and recognize the gravity of what's really taking place. And I'll never forget, we were actually here in Florida. We didn't live here in Florida yet. We came here to Florida, and Ryan and Anna were hosting an in-person retreat. We were all in this huge, amazing house with a view of the Gulf. It was a big moment for us because we flew your parents out and our kids out. And we're all out here hanging out in Florida, getting to share this beautiful place with your parents, which was so fun. And at the end of the retreat, we're all, the leaders, we're all gathered together at this house. We're sitting on the balcony overlooking the Gulf and just kind of reflecting on the week, sharing cool things that happened. And Ryan just started to weep. He just started crying. I'm like, bro, what's wrong? Like, this was awesome. You did great. Like, why are you crying?
Nothing went wrong.
Nothing went wrong. And I remember vividly, he was looking out at the Gulf water, just in his own moment. And then he was just silent. And then he looked at us and said, to think just 5 years ago, I was waking up every morning, getting on a school bus in Mississippi, sitting on a cold seat, gripping a cold steering wheel, about ready to start my route because him and Anna were teachers and he drove a school bus for extra income.
Yeah.
And he's reflecting on that, reliving that, and then looking at what's in front of him and what they had created. Just with so much gratitude and perspective of the enormity of that moment. Like just 5 years ago, I was waking up, getting on a school bus for extra income. Here I am now in this, I don't even remember how big it was. It was big enough that it had an elevator in a theater room.
Yeah.
Massive. Multi-million-dollar beach house. Just hosted a retreat, impacted a ton of people, has a bunch of his friends there as leaders. And he just had such an ability in that moment to take inventory of what was really taking place. Not just to live in it fully, because he was.
Yes.
But to take inventory and really reflect on, holy cow, look how different life is right now in this moment than it was just 5 short years ago. And I think one of the reasons that he impacted me so much, and it's still a story I reflect on and look back on and look up to him for, is I struggled with doing that. Like for me, thinking of that, I'm like, yeah, 5 years and that's the transformation that takes place. Like, wow. Like we'd all think like, well, that's so fast. That's amazing. But when you're living in that, man, those 5 years feel like forever. Like that feels like an eternity. And we talk about this a lot, but what most people don't see behind the scenes is like on that journey, there's failure after failure after failure after failure. We've talked about that in past episodes. There's the failures that don't get seen and the highlight reel that everybody else sees. But like in the moment, that 5 years feels like it took forever. But something about slowing down at that pinnacle moment and just taking inventory in that way, it was so profound and powerful to me because it really helped me understand and recognize what he was seeing. And what he was seeing was he was taking just long enough in that pinnacle moment to say, wow, I'm really grateful for how far I've come.
Yeah, and I think that's what the most powerful thing is like he stopped to do that, but not just to be like, wow, so cool, like we've done it, but it's like in the moment feeling what he felt, like to the point we always talk about it to him, but it's like the cold steering wheel. Yeah, like you felt the cold steering wheel, but there's power in doing that because he brought himself back to that moment, not being quick to forget, like, no, that was once my reality. And right now I'm sitting on this balcony. There was a storm coming in across the ocean. There was like a breeze. It's like you're feeling that, but allowing yourself to remember where you came from and what you felt in that moment is what's so powerful, because that season doesn't get lost on you. And then you're also able to see like, holy cow, the magnitude of how far I've come since that is just, it's insane. Like it's more than I was even like prepared for or imagining could ever happen.
Yeah. And I think that's really what we want to dive into today on this episode is understanding the power of stopping, which feels antithetical to us as entrepreneurs, especially in this culture. Like, what do you mean stop? What do you mean pause? What do you mean slow down? It's faster, 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 more. But really taking the time to slow down, take inventory, and recognize how far you've already come. Listen, as entrepreneurs, we need to be driven. We need to have goals. We need to have something we want to be building towards. But so often we get trapped in that building towards the next thing that we forget to recognize how far we've already come. And that's something that's really hamstrung us many times in our business journey because we are absolutely the worst at moving the goalposts on ourselves. What'd you say?
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes, it's like that. That's hard to admit because there's so much just in that alone where you're just so unkind to yourself when that's the reality.
Yeah.
But looking back, 10 years of business, it's like, yeah, we would set a goal. It's like, here's the goalpost. We're headed to it. We're on our way. Things are going good. Things are going smooth. And we're at the goalpost. And then once you get there, it's like time to celebrate. It's time to give yourself credit. It's time to acknowledge like, oh my gosh, I am capable of what I just did. But you don't because you just move it.
But you don't. Like, okay, so think about, for you that are listening or watching, think about the day you first picked up a camera. Think about how in that moment that maybe your story is similar to ours. Erica, me and her parents went in to get her a kit camera from Costco.
Yep.
And it was a, camera body, Nikon, yeah. I forget what model with a kit lens.
D3000 or D300.
Whatever the lowest end Nikon was. That's what it was. And we got to that when think about that. Like the moment you first got a camera, you unboxed it and your goal is just like, I got to learn this thing. I got to understand this camera. I need to know how this works so I can take great photos. And you do that thing. And then your next goal is like, I need to practice on people, and you practice on people, and I need to get paying clients, and you get paying clients. And like, you start setting these goalposts in place and you start achieving those things. But I know for us, as we set goalposts in place, one of, truly our Achilles heel was we would reach whatever that goalpost was. And we wouldn't even take time to recognize it because we were already set further ahead. Like we already had our eyes set further ahead on the next goalpost. Maybe if I'm honest, the next 5 goalposts ahead that we set in place for ourselves. And again, there's nothing wrong with being driven, but I think we miss a lot of opportunity when we forget to stop and recognize like, oh my gosh, I just achieved something I set out to do. Like I just did that.
Right. Well, and also like, I can't do that. I am able to do that. Like I had this dream for a reason. I figured that out. Take the really soft, creamy, blurry background photos. I remember that was a specific goal of mine. So when I finally practiced that on Brody enough times when he was a toddler and nailed it, I was so proud. But did I stop to like really have that moment to be like, look, you can do this. Now the next thing, you feel more capable, you feel more confident for it. And having like those next goalposts set, it's like it's a tricky place to be because we do have dreams. We have big ideas. Ours never stop. I'm still wondering if there's a day that they will. So it's like, it comes from having dreams and having things we want to achieve. But the danger to it is sometimes new goalposts are set because of what you see others doing. What we've seen others do, where it's like, oh, that's such a good idea. Oh, I love that. Or, oh, I should do that too. Or I should try for this, or I should try for that. That's such a danger to get into when you've come to a goalpost and you're not taking the time to recognize that for yourself because you're looking around at others and it's like, oh, this goalpost doesn't really matter that much. I need to set another one. And now I need to go for that one. It's just really unfair to do for yourself as an entrepreneur, but just as a human too.
Well, I think one of the things we hear so often, and one of the things we've struggled with, continue to struggle with in full transparency, and that we hear students say they struggle with oftentimes, is the big old imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Right. And this idea that, like, if you only knew what was really happening behind the scenes, if you really knew how much I don't know and how often I'm winging it and how many goals I haven't met, if you really knew all that, like, I wouldn't be invited into the space. Right. And I think that's a natural thing for us to feel as entrepreneurs, because we are going out into the Wild West and, into the uncharted territory and making our own path, blazing our own trail. And so it's easy to feel that way because we are always kind of making it up as we go. Like we have our best ideas and, we invest in learning from others, but to make that our own business, our own way of doing things, like, yeah, you are making it up as you go. No wonder you feel that way, right? To an extent you are. But when you don't recognize the things you've already accomplished, you only add to that feeling of imposter syndrome because you're never taking time to sit with gratitude of what you've actually accomplished. I remember for us, when I first left Caterpillar, our big goal at the time was like, if we can make like $40,000 this year in photography, we'll be good. Like we'll be set. Like we'll be able to take care of what we need. And we did it. And I didn't feel an ounce better. I didn't have 1 ounce less worry. I didn't have 1 ounce of gratitude. I was just like, okay, cool. Now we need to hit 80. Now we need to hit 6 figures. Now we need to hit multiple 6 figures. And each time we did, right? We grew revenue and we hit multiple 6 figures when we transitioned into brand photography. And it was like at every level, I expected like, oh, well, once we hit this goalpost, I'll finally feel fulfilled. Once we hit this goalpost, I'll finally feel like we've accomplished something. But it never did.
Right.
Every single one we hit, I was just like, okay, next. Okay, next. That's not enough. More. Faster. Grow bigger. And I never had the chance to really sit with it and say like, wow, look what we just did. Because I was always so focused on what the next goal was. And that only adds to the imposter syndrome because, like you're saying, sometimes we're setting goals because of other people.
Right.
And then if you combine that with the fact that you're always looking at the next goal and never taking time to sit with what you've actually accomplished, you feel like you've accomplished nothing. But that's completely opposite of the truth.
Right. Yeah. It's like you forget to give yourself the credit that you put in the work and you figured it out and you carved a new path towards the thing that you're trying to create. And like you said, it's like we really are making it up as we go. But I just want to add that like making it up as you go is like the beauty of being an entrepreneur. Like how many times do you sit and watch Shark Tank and someone has come on there with something that's already been done? No, they made it up because they saw something that they could create a solution for or a need for. It's like they also made it up as they went. And so I think we can trick ourselves to think that like, I'm an imposter because I'm having to make this up as I go. And I don't know that it's like, that's actually the beauty of what we get to do in being creatives and being an entrepreneur is making it our way as we go. And when you are successful in it, or when you get to that goalpost that you have set, that's the time to like, okay, I got to take inventory. Like, see what I was feeling on my way here. Because then I feel like it's so much easier to be like, oh my gosh, I did that. Like you can be proud of yourself. You can credit yourself that like, I did the work. I did figure it out. I'm no longer feeling like an imposter or like I'm just mimicking everybody else that I see because you take the time and you stop to reflect back on that, and it's really powerful to stop and do.
Yeah. I think one time in business for us, do I feel like I know I at least did that naturally and did it really well. And that was in 2020 when the world fell apart. And we decided, there's a lot of people asking us, how have we built what we have with brands? How have we done this so quickly? And they're asking us specifics of like, how are you pitching brands? How are you working with them? How are you doing this? How are you doing that? And we eventually were like, man, we're having to respond to enough of these questions on a regular basis. Like, there's an obvious need here. Let's share what we've done with people and hopefully help people. And not knowing a thing about what we were doing, we put together our very first online course, the planning and styling course.
Yeah.
Some of you watching and listening have probably been with us
You're
since
an
the
OG.
planning and styling course days. Yep, some real OGs. And I remember when we put that together, we talked about this a little bit, I think on a past episode, how we had done all the work to do it the very best we could, making it up as we went.
Yeah.
And then we sat with a friend and we're like, hey, this is what we're trying to accomplish. And it's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. And we blew our initial estimates based on that conversation out of the water.
Yeah.
And I remember when we closed that promotion, you went to bed. You're like, I'm tired. Yeah. I stayed up. This is how much we didn't know what we were doing. I actually stayed up until midnight that night to toggle the switch and turn the sale off.
Well, duh. Doors close at midnight.
Doors close. How else do you do it? You got to manually toggle the switch off.
You gotta go shut the door.
You got to shut the door. And so I stayed up till midnight to toggle the switch off. Actually, I think it was 1 a.m. because we were in Arizona and it was Pacific time.
Yeah.
Had to milk that extra hour out, right? So stayed up till 1 a.m., toggled the thing off, and then I sat there and I actually screen recorded selfie style a video for you.
Yeah, I still have it on my phone. I'm envisioning it.
Maybe we should share it.
We should.
Yeah.
You were crying.
So if you're watching, you can watch the video. We'll throw it up right now.
So it's 12:13 right now, and I just got done switching everything over. To officially close the course. And it just feels... This feels really emotional right now. Like we've spent almost the last year of our life building for this moment. Just thinking proud of you, proud of us, for what we accomplished, and I know this is just the beginning. But man, it feels like it's been an uphill battle. It's been hard. Hardest thing I feel like I've ever done in my life. And it feels so good. I think we owe it to ourselves to feel proud of what we've accomplished and to spend the next couple weeks letting ourselves, giving permission to ourselves to check out and just enjoy and to just celebrate. This is just the beginning. It's just the beginning. This is our first one, the first time. And I fully believe, as wowed as we are with the results, it's peanuts compared to what's ahead for us. But man, it feels good. It feels really good. And I love you. And I love you enough that I'm letting you sleep instead of waking you up. Proud of you. Thanks for doing this with me.
I recorded this video just reflecting in that moment. I was sitting with the weight of what we had just done.
Yes.
We set out to do something big, scary, audacious that we had never done before. We had no idea how it would pan out. We had a conversation with a friend that said, this probably isn't going to do what you guys think it's going to do. We exceeded what that conversation gave us. And I remember just sitting there, turning that off, and the amount of gratitude I felt in that moment. Did it provide for our family in an awesome way? Yes, it did. Of course. I mean, we're in business. We're in business for a reason.
Right.
Like, we need to make money to keep the lights on and feed our kids, right? So like, just like everybody, we run a business to make money, to live a life. But also just thinking of all the people we were just able to serve, and thinking of how we had just taken on something we felt so uncomfortable with and powered through and figured it out, and how we had just taken something that we got negative news about and pushed forward anyway and saw a result that we really didn't expect to see. Like, all of those things are what I felt in the moment. I just felt so proud of us for crossing that finish line.
Well, I think it was the added element that, like, there was a lot going on in 2020. So, I mean, I'll speak for our business. I can at least say for that, like, it was not looking very good. And we could have easily taken the road of fear of, like, you know, just down it goes. I guess it's time to just like move on and go find a job that can actually work. But like, to that point, like, to power through, like, we had to take a moment to just be like, oh my gosh, like, no matter what's going on around you, you still really can take this into your own hands and do something and allow yourself to become a stronger, you know, better version of yourself through the growth of it. And that was a huge thing for us. But also, to your point, we realized that what we never wanted people to feel like were just our business secrets. It's like we were able to give those in a way that it's like, holy cow, like you have it all. Like, here it is. Like, it's all right here. You can take this, you can implement it. You can, you know, now go and build a business with it. And that was what was so fun. And I know for us to sit in that, to realize, like, knowing how much this has changed our life, now that we put the work in and we saw it through, we get to help others do that. Like, that was really important for us to sit in, knowing our heart behind it.
Hey, before we jump back into the episode, I want to take a quick minute to tell you about a resource we've created that's helping photographers just like you build more profitable businesses. Now, one of the biggest questions we've been asked over the years is, how do I know what to charge? And it's not because there's some magic unicorn number, but it's because most photographers have never actually been shown a pricing system that works on repeat. And that's exactly why we created Priced for Profit. Inside, we walk you through the same 4 building block pricing system we've refined over years of shooting brand photography for everyone from personal brands to national campaigns. And inside, you're going to learn how to calculate your creative rate, confidently price your services, finally understand image licensing, and build custom quotes without second guessing yourself every time. So if you've ever stared at a proposal wondering, is this too much? Or am I leaving money on the table? Well, we made this just for you. Now, normally Priced for Profit is $297, but because you're a part of the Beyond the Camera community, you can get it today for just $97 with checkout code podcast. All you got to do is head over to ericaandjohn.com/price for profit, or click the link in the show notes and use checkout code podcast to grab it for just $97 today. All right, let's get back into the episode.
I think it's really easy to look past those things, but I do say we did very well at that during that specific time.
In that specific time, we did really well with it. And I think the reason it's etched in my memory and I remember that so well is because it was one of the few times I've done well at doing that in the moment. Like, I did the Ryan Leonard in the moment. There's been a whole lot of times in business where I haven't. And, you know, to be real honest and vulnerable, I mean, there have been times where, you know, once we started building more educational products and more resources for photographers, we've made those available and something's done really well. And I've just been like, okay, next. Okay, next. And always just moving the goalpost of, okay, we did that, now this. Okay, we did that, now this. And not sitting with like, and I remember there was something that I think it was a year or two ago you had us do that similarly, I think, marked me in a way where I was like, wow, that was powerful, is we actually wrote every single person during a specific launch, every single person that enrolled, we wrote their name on a Post-it note and laid those out. And it was just so cool to me to see all these Post-it notes of individuals' names that we had impacted through that. Again, it was like we took a moment to sit with what we had just done and recognize the impact. And that sat with me. And so what's really funny is, like, a lot of the times, and I'm processing this in real time right now, a lot of times I'm realizing, like, looking back in our own business journey, the times I've been really disappointed with an outcome have been the times where we've blown right past what we were trying to do and haven't taken the time to sit with that. And the times as I'm reflecting, like I said, this is like super raw in real time, but like the times I'm looking back that I remember going like, wow, I'm so proud of us for doing that. And the moments I felt the most confident were the moments where we stopped in that. It didn't say, okay, what's next? We let ourselves sit with it for a minute and take inventory and just experience the gratitude that came along with that. Something in that.
Well, and I mean, to the open and the raw and the real, it's like, probably the very reason of having this being the topic of the podcast today is because it's like, this our reminder again, like, yet to slow down and stop and don't allow like the worries, the dreams, the ideas, the next things to like take control over a moment, to just be like, yeah, but look at how far. And I think the funny part, but the cool part is like, still to this day, I remember we were playing pickleball with Ryan and Anna, and a school bus turned into the neighborhood, and we all just stopped. We're like, Ryan, like, there's your bus. And he pauses, like, every single time. He gives full attention to just a moment. It's like a moment of silence after the Pledge of Allegiance in school that I remember. It's like not just a moment of silence. He always gives some sort of just very genuine moment to that. And I think to those of you who are listening, it's the same reminder for us right now, is to have those kinds of moments on repeat, not every few years, but like constantly, routinely, just having them ingrained to just say like, I did that. And with the help of God, we were able to push this forward. And with the creative thinking he gave us on this, like, look what happened with it. It gives you more confidence in yourself and also what you're out pursuing and what you're out building.
Yeah. Well, on that note, one of my favorite examples, actually, in scripture of this, our pastor in Arizona at CCB, Ashley Wooldridge, he talked about this years ago now, is that like, if you look through the Old Testament, first 5 books of the Bible, especially once we get to the story of the Israelites in captivity in Egypt, and Moses comes and Moses, let my people go. I always think of our old friend that used to sing that.
You just like fully lived in that moment.
I did. I was reflecting. But Moses comes to Pharaoh and says, "Let my people go," and then they escape Egypt and they cross the Red Sea and they're in the wilderness and they get scared and then they're stuck in the wilderness for 40 years, and like all this time passes, all of these things happen, and along the way there's all of these miracles, right? Just the deliverance from Egypt and the plagues and God providing manna and quail and water from a rock, and their clothes and their shoes didn't wear out, and all of these things as they're wandering for 40 years. And during that time, God gives the law too, like, here's how you need to live. Here's how you need to treat one another. Here's how you need to, handle yourselves. And then right before they're about to finally enter the promised land, like all this time's passing, a new generation has come up and they're about to enter the promised land. And Moses goes up on a mountain, and it's like you read all these chapters in books of the Bible, and then it's like, and some of them are a little tough to get through, like some of the Old Testament law and stuff. And I'm like, glad we don't have to do any of that today. It's like, whoa, this is rough. But you power through it. And then it's like, oh, I got through it. And then all of a sudden, if you read your Bible chronologically, like from the beginning through, it's like, wait, we're back here again. Why are we reading all of this again? And yeah, I know that story. I just read it like a couple books back. What's happening? Moses is recognizing this new generation needs to remember what's already taken place so that they won't forget when they walk into the promised land. So like the Bible takes time. Moses takes time to stand there and recount from the beginning. Remember when you were slaves in captivity in Egypt. Remember how God delivered you. Remember the plagues that he sent. Remember how he parted the Red Sea. Remember how he provided manna, split the rock, and provided water, even when you were grumbling. Remember these laws. Remember these commandments, because he knows in that moment they're about to enter something new, what they've been longing for, what they've been promised, the promised land, flowing milk and honey. And he's like, we need to stop. We need to look back. We need to reflect. We need to in this moment before we step into what's next for us. Yeah. And I've always thought that's so powerful because it's so true. Like that's exactly what Ryan does.
Yeah.
When he stands there and has that moment of reflection that helps them then feel so much gratitude. Because then it's also like, I don't know, I think it's the ultimate hack, because we're also then reminded of like all of the amazing things that have happened along the way.
Right.
You know, all of God's goodness along the way, all of the things that did go right. Because so often we can be focused on all the things that didn't go right.
Yep.
Because more things don't go right than go right. So it's like we can spend so much time focused on, okay, here's the default. That failed, that failed, that failed, that failed. Well, good. I'm finally got to the goalpost. Oh, good. I'm fine. I'm glad that finally worked. But this is what I want to work towards now. That's one way.
Yeah.
Or it's like, get to that goal. That failed. That failed. That still failed. Yep. That still failed. Got to the goalpost. Oh my gosh, we got here.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at what we just accomplished. Like, yeah, we want to go there, but look at what we just accomplished. And look at God's goodness through all these things. Like, these things didn't work, but like we've talked about again in the past about failure on this podcast, like that's maybe for our good.
Yeah.
Maybe that was developing something in us. Maybe it's because we weren't ready for this yet. But look at the things that did go.
Mhm.
Look at the things that did fall into place. Look at how we did grow. Like, how much more powerful is that than to propel you to the next goalpost
Mhm.
rather than just try and muscle through and go to the next thing on your own?
Yeah. Well, and I feel like translating that to ourselves and also just to photographers who listen, it's like, ask yourself, remember how it went when you actually first picked up your camera, turned it on, and then you learned it. And remember when you locked in your posing flow and you got to execute it. Also remember how it felt when you totally flopped and you stalled out and it made for a really awkward moment. You still got through it and you still got booked again. And it's like, remember when you got a no, when someone declined your proposal, or when they booked and they even told you, I went with someone else. It's like, remember that, because you're still here and you're still in business for a reason. It's like that didn't happen just for no reason. It's like, just remember that, because now you're past it and you're beyond it. And I think just to like what you were saying, rattling all those things off, there are so many things. It's like, remember when you sent a response and you're like, shoot, did they think I was being so rude, or was I okay? It's just, it goes so deep for us in business. Owning our own business as entrepreneurs, as creatives, as photographers, so much of it is personal to us because it's art we're making for other people. It's experiences we're creating for other people. And oftentimes it can just feel like, man, like what's even happening? It's all happening so fast. But stopping and realizing like things that have taken place and where you're at now.
Yeah. I was just texting a good friend and mentor of ours actually today about some things that weren't going according to plan. And I love, like, because this is what naturally comes out of that too, is like when you reflect back on those things and you see, okay, these things did fail, but maybe they were for my good. And here's all the things that did work. It builds your faith. It builds your confidence as you go on to that next goalpost. And I remember I was talking to him about some things that weren't working out according to plan. And he ended his text message with this. And I loved it. He goes, because he was like, understanding the things I was expressing and the frustration I had. And then he said, and remember, the only way this works out is that, you know,
The worst thing.
yeah, that's right. Remember, the worst thing that happens is you guys are totally fine.
Mm-hmm. Is that you guys are great.
Or you guys are totally great, or something like that. I was like, I love that, because how often can we make the things that don't work like this huge, oh my gosh, like I'm destitute and I'm gonna, you know, I'm ruined forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, yeah, just zoom back for a second and remember, like, the worst thing that happens is you're totally great.
Yeah.
And I think pausing in those moments to look back and reflect helps us build that muscle,
right,
of recognizing in those moments as we pursue the next goalpost, like, hey, wait, in the past, this is how all this worked out.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to figure it out. I was able to make this happen. I was able to do this. You know, God showed me how to do this and open this door, and like, goalpost, met it. Now let's go on to the next one.
Right.
Because again, this isn't an anti-growth message.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a message of like, slow down, tame down your dreams, think smaller.
Don't work hard.
Don't work hard. You know, no, absolutely. Have big dreams. Have big, scary, crazy, compelling dreams that Brad, same guy. One of my favorite things that he says is, without a compelling vision of the future, you're left to deal with the problems of the present, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to have that compelling vision of the future, but like, sure you slow down to practice gratitude so that you can fully appreciate like what's taken place in that step towards all the dreams and goals that you have.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why like I love journaling and I love like making mental notes however I can, whether it's my voice note app or my note app where I just go and write things down or just screen grabs of things. Like I'm constantly just figuring out how can I mark this moment? Like how can I not forget this? Because we've learned that the power of that. But specifically it's for me like with my camera as a photographer when I apply this, it's like with my camera, where can I you can do that. You can do this. And we've shared specifically like at the retreat and stuff that for me, that was with Heidi Powell.
Yeah.
And I had to take photos of her doing jumping jacks. And let's just say my shutter was nowhere set for jumping jacks. And all the photos reflected that. And in that moment, I can think of where I was driving when I got a note from her just saying like, hey, were there any images that came out from the jumping jacks? And I was like, no, there weren't. But in my head, I'm like, how am I going to say this? How am I going to respond? You're cracking up over there. Like you're reliving that moment.
I am. Yeah. Because our stomachs were in knots.
I was terrified. I'm like, she's going to see that literally I have never ran before and our mutual friend simply sent me to you. Another story for another time.
And obviously, I have no idea what I'm doing with a camera because I
Yeah.
have slow shutter speed with action shots. So I'm an imposter. I'm the worst.
Yeah.
Like we're ruined.
Who sent me to this shoot? And like, who said like, I even like, belong being there in all of those sense, like all of those rules or guidelines, I didn't belong being there. But why I belonged being there is because I had a goal dream that like, we're going to use these cameras and we're going to make a business out of it. So it's like, I would take on those scary things. I would put together my thoughts in the best way, the most professional way, the most raw way to say like, yes, Heidi, I don't remember what I said, but I had to say something.
We've got some.
We have some.
And then you elbowed me and said, John, get to Photoshop
I
it.
said, yeah, we'll get them over to you as soon as they're ready because they were far from ready.
I was
because
taking a
John
leg
had to
from
photo-
one photo and putting it on another photo and a hand from one photo and putting it on another photo.
But like sitting here, right here in this chair, I'm literally thinking back to that moment. I was terrified.
Yeah.
I wanted to call. I wanted to cry, but I didn't want to do that. Didn't know her that well yet. She was so kind. I felt like I could, but I was like, wait, I want her to keep using me. I kind of don't want to let my, my colors show yet. And we persevered. We finished off the photos. I don't know if she ever even questioned. We've talked with her about this. She probably, I know she remembers it, but I don't know that she would even have known that you photoshopped the pictures. But that whole point is just to be like, yeah, like as a photographer came so far. And that moment allowed me to keep taking on scary things and to keep pushing when it felt like, it would have been really easy to forget that type of goal that we accomplished.
Yeah. So I guess the big question for you listening and watching is like, when's the last time you took time to slow down and look back? Have you ever taken time to slow down and look back and really appreciate how far you've come? For us, I remember there's a keynote we gave, Reset Conference. We gave a keynote one year and we talked about this, about how, originally our dream started with, let's pick up a camera together and try and make a business.
Yeah, let's use a camera to build a business.
Then it turned into, let's try and work with brands. Then it turned into, let's try and multiply ourselves because we have so many brands that want to work with us. Mm-hmm. And we brought on team photographers and built up a team. And then it's, how do I do what you guys are doing? We stepped into education. Like when we look back at all of those different steps, it's like, wow, look how far we've come. When's the last time you did that for yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're just starting, even if you just got a camera, like this week, you took steps to even get the camera. Like it took something from you to choose to spend the money on the camera. Even if you bought it, and I'm the type of person that like, I find ways to invalidate something like this that someone's trying to pour into me. So I'm going to try and invalidate this for you and do the work for you. Like even if you got it gifted to you, even if you got it on Facebook Marketplace for really, really cheap, like you still had to choose to receive that gift. You still had to choose to go and get it on Facebook Marketplace really, really cheap. It doesn't matter. Like there's nothing to invalidate this. The principle's the same. Like take the time to sit with that and recognize and appreciate like yourself for believing in yourself to do that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the indicator that there's a speck of belief, a speck of a dream, a speck of something outside of yourself that you're like, I'm going to do this. Like I can do this. whether that's like on a grand scale or it's like, oh, I can't do this. Like, it's just a little bit, it's still there. And it's like, that's what we're saying is stopping and realizing like, oh my gosh, I have what it takes to believe in this idea or to believe in this dream that's in my heart or into these goals that I want to go after. And that's where it all starts, and not losing perspective of that.
And I think it's really important to be clear too. We're not saying live in the past, dwell in the past, dwell on things that, I mean, there's another story in the Bible of somebody looking back.
You don't want to do that.
Lot's wife,
Yeah.
they're escaping Sodom and Gomorrah. God's about ready to destroy it. And it says, leave. Lot's wife looks back at the city, turns into a pillar of salt because she longed for that. Right. Like well, that's not what we're saying to do. We're not saying dwell in the past, dwell on those past accomplishments and
Beat
like
yourself up.
ride those or beat
jumping
yourself over
jacks.
the things that didn't work out. No. We're just saying like pause and appreciate how far you've come. You know, it's a way to accurately assess your growth. If you can't measure it, you can't grow it. So like this is our act of measuring as entrepreneurs. This is our act of doing that, like slowing down and just saying like, wow. And so I think what's really important with this is to have a takeaway, something that you can do beyond just us sharing a little bit of our story and hopefully being encouraged by that. And maybe you're nodding ahead like, yeah, okay, like this makes sense, guys. I see how this could help me. A couple of things. First, there's always going to be this temptation of like, yeah, that's cool. I'll do that when, but all you're doing is setting another goalpost for yourself. Let's not do that, right? Like, let's do it now. Like if you can afford to block even an hour off your calendar this week, like put it on your calendar, make it a legit business meeting with yourself where you're going to sit, maybe it's a journal, maybe it's, I don't know. If I was doing this, I'd want to go like fishing and just be by myself. You'd probably want a journal.
I would want a journal. I would want to be in our house with nothing else on, no one else here, just silence, just nothing. Where I could just clear everything out and go into my thoughts of just like diving deep into those moments. Yeah.
So sit with yourself. Maybe the journal is the best way to do it. Like sit with yourself with a journal, block it off on your calendar, make sure you don't get interrupted, commit to yourself to doing this and sit and just ask yourself the question, how am I different today than when I first picked up a camera? A simple question. But I think as you unpack that and start to recognize how far you've grown, you're going to realize how far you really have come. Because it's so easy for us to lose sight of even what we do with a camera being magic. I mean, I remember we had clients who were very well-to-do that we were taking photos of. And they were going on a trip to Rome, I think.
Somewhere.
And they've bought themselves a brand new Canon DSLR and showed it to us at the next shoot. And inside, again, imposter syndrome, I was like, Erica is nicer than our camera. Right? The camera that they bought to document their vacation is nicer than us, the professionals that just showed up to take their photos.
That they hired to come and take pictures for. It's like,
don't tell them.
Don't let them know.
But I remember in that moment, it was such, again, a profound moment for me because I was like, okay, let me explain to you how to take a decent photo. I'm going to make this as simple as possible. First, walk into the room or the space and think of like, what are the conditions? Is this bright sunlight? Is this cloudy? Is it partly cloudy? Are we indoors? And based on that, you're going to want to set your ISO. And then based on the depth of field you want, you're going to want to set your aperture. And then, you know, based on the focal length of your lens, you're going to want the shutter speed to be, you know, double that. So, and the look I got was like, what are you? Like, I myself have been speaking Italian. I was going to say Greek. I'm like, that's not right.
Gibberish works.
Gibberish. I mean, it just did not compute. And I recognized in that moment, like, oh yeah, me understanding this camera and having that as a second nature to just like understand and think through those things, that in and of itself is a huge accomplishment. I should take a minute and appreciate. Like, holy cow. Like what you do with your camera is magic. And if we don't take the time to stop and look back and really reflect on those things and practice gratitude, that stuff's really lost on us. And we can kind of start to despise what we do and the business we have. We're looking at all the things that aren't yet because we haven't taken time to look at all the things that have been. And I think that's the transformation that we really want you to take away from this. So that's the challenge. Take some time this week, sit, journal, ask yourself, how am I different today than when I first picked up a camera? And if you're comfortable to share those things in the comments, we'd really love to read that. We'd love to see that. We'd love to celebrate those things with you because I think when you share that with community as well, you know, and you get to celebrate those things with people around you. It continues to build your confidence and your ability and what you can do.
Well, yeah, and for yourself, it allows you to appreciate yourself, which you owe it to yourself to do that for sure. But then for others, it gives them just a sense of community. Like our story with Ryan, we still talk about it to this day. We're talking about it with you now because it's like it left such a mark on us where I was like, I need to take myself back to my school bus, which we did. We have a house where we like labeled that like our cheese sandwich house. But it's like it pulled something out of us to want to do better at finding perspective for ourselves and to logging those moments in our own life. So it is important to share because we all need each other to do that with. And we couldn't encourage everybody any more than to tap into community and into friends to do life and business and all the things in between with, because it makes the biggest difference.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us for today's episode. We hope it impacts you in a huge way to help us reach more people and get the things we're talking about in front of more photographers. It'd mean the world if you could like, subscribe, and leave a review so that wherever you're watching this, just so we can get this in front of more people and help more people learn these types of tools that really help us as individuals behind the business grow and find our true purpose in business beyond the camera. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.